So the point of this presentation is to show you how you can take a PowerPoint presentation and change it so that it's easier for people to see and simpler for people to understand. So we're going to eliminate some of the distractions. And one of the distractions from this PowerPoint is the theme. So you can see that the person who created this just went to slide themes and selected this third one. And the reason that that is not always the best or clearest way to present is because you have a light background and light lettering. If you were to select, if you went up to Format and chose Slide Background, you want to choose the most contrasting colors possible. So a super dark background with really light writing, or a super light background with dark lettering. So I'm going to apply this to all, and now we can, these words are much, they pop out, they're brighter, you can see them very easily. Now the second thing is, what's distracting is any errors in capitalization or spelling, and anything that doesn't exactly look professional. So she rocks the house. Well, Sally does rock the house. We're going to just say Sally Johnson. And even the word by is a little bit elementary, so we can just say our name right there. We can kind of get that it is by Sally Johnson. The next thing we're going to do is take a look at what text and images we have and see if we can make them bigger, because small images don't do a lot. And remember, we're not thinking about decoration, we're thinking about impact and helping people remember what our science fair project is all about. So when you have larger images, it has a greater impact on them than a small image. So I'm just going to take this image, and we can have headlines, that's fine. A summary headline kind of helps our reader or the person who's watching this video stay focused. But I'm going to get that image and make it super big. Okay. And now what words I did have behind there, I can just copy and paste into the notes section to remind myself of what I'm going to say. But they're not necessarily needed here. People can read faster than you can speak sometimes, so you don't want them to be done reading while you're still talking. So we're just going to have a nice picture for them to look at, and we can, I could even maybe put the question, which paint dries faster, or I could put a text box saying oil-based or water-based. I could even have two images, one with an oil-based or one with a water-based picture. And again, this animation was not too bad. You know, you're trying to make a point about the slowness, so I like the picture. I like the fact that it moves across the screen slowly. I would make it shorter, the text shorter. So instead of I think, we want to be professional, so you say oil-based paint will dry more slowly. And again, you want to get that image just as large as it can be, and we know this is going to move, so we don't want to move it all the way across the screen. Now for the next slide, it's great that you're giving your the URLs of where you found your research, but this doesn't do much for people. They're not going to write it down. They're not going to click on it and go to the website. So the best thing here is to take these completely out, so delete those, and rather put in images that represent what the research said. So if oil is a mixture, or excuse me, if oil-based paints, you did some research and you found out what the ingredients were, and you look that up and you say, okay, so it looks like paint thinner, looks like it said there. Let's go down here. Okay, so you read about what is exactly in there. There's pigment, there's paint thinner. So let's just get an image of paint thinner. Don't spend a lot of time. I mean, if you've got the image, great, go for it. This is a copyrighted image, so I would need to put the URL down here, or unless I took a picture of paint thinner myself from maybe my parents have some in their garage or something, I could just take a quick photo, then I don't have to cite my source. But here, since this isn't my picture, I am going to paste the URL with that. And you can make it super tiny font. So let's shrink that down to like a size 9 or 8 even. Stretch it out. I think it just looks better when you have your own images rather than a bunch of images that have these long URLs to them. So instead of saying oil-based paint has the following ingredients, use big images and have them come in if you want an effect to fade in. So I could just put a little animation on this one. So under the formatting palette, I might want to, because I have this picture selected, I might want the effect of appearing. So, and then I could add the other ingredients as well. Now the next slide, as you notice, this did have an effect, and it kind of bounced in, came in one at a time, and it took a long time for them.
For my experiment, I used the following material.
Okay, so I was talking about that. And I would do the same thing as you do with your research, saying, you know, I found that in my research these were the ingredients in oil-based paint or water-based paint. The same thing you can do here. And maybe you have them laid out as if you did the experiment. So you have the oil paint, you have a picture of a hair dryer. Okay, I'm going to paste that on my slide. Now here's where you, instead of having big images, which are always preferred, you could have a series of images sort of coming in to show what your, how you set it up. So maybe you have this hairdryer pointing at the paint that you put on the piece of paper. Or you could say, you know, in my experiment, I used a hairdryer, and then click to the next slide and say the next thing. But since we only can use 20 slides maximum, I would say put these pictures and all on the same slide. Okay, and probably the worst error you can make is typing out something, a whole paragraph, and then reading it to the audience. It's not fun to listen to. You might as well just let us read it rather than say it out loud. So again, here's what I would say. I would have an image to look at, and that image should be similar to what the procedure is. And this is where your pictures are going to be the best. And they can be a series of pictures, but big images are really great. And then here I'm just going to talk about what I did. I took 2 swabs of paint, I put it on the left side, I put 2 swabs of the water-based paint, I put it on the right side, and you continue to talk through the process, but they have an image in front of them. And that conclusion, here we have some clip art, and generally clip art is decorative and not necessarily adds to the presentation. It's also kid-like, and you want to make sure you're presenting your material in a mature manner. And who to thunk it or thank you at the end or the end, not necessary. You can have text. That's great to come to your final conclusion. The extreme punctuation probably not necessary. So what we've done here is just make a couple of changes and made it a very cleaner design, very easy to see. The images were large enough. The text was limited to just the necessary text. We represented pictures for our information rather than just listing websites or just listing words so people could remember it. And they're kind of following this as if it were a story told to them. You know, what happened? And that's the last thing I would talk to you about is when you're talking, you kind of want to start with the beginning. Like, why did you even start to do this assignment? So maybe it was you were helping your parents paint the bedroom and you were wondering, you know, why do we use certain kind of paints? So you might want to insert a slide right here with just an image of perhaps the bathroom that you were going to paint or the dining room. And your parents were painting their dining room, and it gave you an idea of, you know, what color should we paint ours, and you know, why do certain paints dry faster? And that can just be done very quickly. It doesn't have to be long at all. It's just kind of a setup for your experiment as to why this is an important thing to you. So again, you start with a title slide, and then you talk about what's the background. You then summarize your study in a very quick fashion. You do your hypothesis, you state your research, talk about the experiment and the procedure, and then what your conclusion should be. So good luck.